We're going to look at the area and perimeter of triangles. So as we know, a triangle just has three sides, and it really doesn't matter what they are. What you do is you call this the base and this the height. The perimeter of a triangle, if I call that the base, I called this A and I called this C. The perimeter is just adding up the sides. A plus B plus C. So there's the area or perimeter of a triangle. You have to know those. Darn, this thing's not working right. There it is. All right. Live TV, you know how that goes. There are cases where you're given the height and you need to find what one of the sides are. We're not going to look at any like that. So to find the area, here's the idea of how we figure out a formula for the area. If you were to take a parallelogram, and you could do this with any triangle that you have, you could create a parallelogram. And we know from previously that the parallelogram, the area of it, is the base times the height. Okay, so if we were to take and make a triangle out of that, so just cut it like that. Here's a triangle. The area of this triangle then is half of that. And you can do that for any triangle you want. I could create a parallelogram right here from this triangle, and we can see that the area of this triangle is half of that parallelogram, which is base times height. And that's all it really is. And so it's 1/2 base times height. I'll write it like that. Or some people like it base times height divided by 2. Either one of them is fine. And so again, today an example of the type of problem you're going to have would be if you were given a triangle. Let's say we gave you a triangle that looked like this. And I said, so I'll make a triangle. Okay, let's make it a right triangle. Let's call that A, B, and C. And I said that A was 4 yards, B is 2.6 yards, and C is 6 yards. We want to find the area and perimeter. Well, the perimeter, like I said, is pretty easy. You just add these up. So take a calculator and you just go 4 plus 2.6 plus 6, 12.6, and then whatever unit it is. Again, yards, just perimeter is just whatever units you have. To find the area, it's the base times the height, and those are perpendicular. So this happens to be the height of that triangle. So the area is going to be A, which is 4, times B, which is 2.6, and then we have to divide that by 2. So the area is going to be 4 times 2.6 divided by 2. 5.2 square yards. Areas are always square units. Okay, there's the area of it. Pretty straightforward. The only other type of problem you're going to see is an equilateral triangle. And that's a special case. What they've done is used if you go back to an equilateral triangle, remember that that's a triangle where all of the sides are the same. which means all of these angles are 60 degrees. If you were to draw a height to that, what it does is it creates this 30, 60, 90 triangle here, special right triangle. We know the base is the side. If this was the height, I know that this part right here is half of this side. So this is S over 2. So if we just look at that little triangle on the side there, we got a 30, 60, 90. This is S over 2, this is H. This and this length is S. Okay? To find what H is, remember that in a 30, 60, 90, whatever the side opposite the 30 was, the height is that times the square root of 3. So H is going to be S over 2 times the square root of 3. The area of this triangle then is the base times the height divided by 2. Area is base, which is S, times the height, which was S square root of 3 over 2, and then we're going to multiply that by 1/2 or divide it by 2. Putting that all together, S times S is S squared times the square root of 3. On the bottom, 2 times 2 is 4. And we come up with a formula for the area of an equilateral triangle. You could use this instead of going through all that other stuff. You can just use this formula. When you know the length of a side, you square it, multiply it by square root of 3, and divide by 4. The perimeter, be pretty easy on that. Perimeter is just S plus S plus S, or 3S. That's the perimeter of an equilateral triangle. So if I gave you an equilateral triangle and I said that S was equal to 6 centimeters, the perimeter is going to be 3 times 6 centimeters, 18 centimeters. The area is going to be the length of the side, 6 squared times the square root of 3 divided by 4. And then you just take your calculator, we just go 6 squared times the square root of 3, go outside the the square root, and then divide it by 4. 15.6. So the area would be about 15.6, and that would be square centimeters. Areas are always square. So that's the kind of problems you're going to have today. Area of a triangle is just base times height divided by 2. Perimeter is just add up the sides.